Oh, we're live, pal.
Hey everybody, this is so exciting. We are here. It's Friday. We've made it through another week on this earth, and we are here to talk about Netflix and other stuff that we've been watching. It's going to be really fun, and we have the chat rooms open. So if you want to put in your comments or questions that you have for us, we'd love to do that. We love doing these live shows. I am Rachel Wagner, and Ryan is here.
Hey, Rachel, it's great to be back with you once again. We're talking some Netflix stuff and other things, and you look a little more tan. How was your trip to Hippie Land?
No, it was so good.
I'm totally joking. Shout out to my Californians who may be watching us.
Yeah. Yes, I went to Oceanside, California, because I hadn't seen the ocean since 2016, so I was dying to see it, and it fulfilled my expectations. It was great, and we had a wonderful time. We were at an Airbnb that was steps away from the beach, so it was perfect. And I just wish I could go back sooner. But I'll definitely go back again. It was really nice. It's a really fun little place, and it was cool because I got to see so many people that have become kind of part of my podcasting family. So it was a real testament to the benefits from doing all the hard work that I do to get to spend time with these people that, sometimes you feel like, are these relationships real that we have, worked so hard on in this virtual space? But it's so rewarding to actually spend time with people and to realize that is, even if you aren't able to be maybe as successful in some ways as you like, that those relationships really do matter, and it's successful in that way. And so I got to spend time with Dory, who's one of my friends from Hallmarkies podcast. She has her own podcast called All the Feels, and it was so fun to get to meet her after spending so much time podcasting with her, and got to hang out with her. And then also Mel, who's her co-host on her podcast. She's been on my show a number of times. Anyway, got to meet her. Also got to meet Colleen, who did the Francast with me, and we've become pretty good friends. And so we finally got to meet, and that was cool. And then I got to see Amy, who I had actually met before. She'd come out to Utah to see me, and so now I got to go see her. So I got to see all these people from this podcasting space. It was kind of like a little mini reunion in some ways. So that was also really good. Plus, the ocean is just so great.
One of my favorite TV shows right now is Dark Side of the Ring on Vice. It's all about these pro wrestling stories. When we talk about Hulu again, I will be recommending it if it is on there. Last time I checked, I did see it on there. But if it's not, then I'll hope to talk about it someday. But in one of the episodes in season 1, it was about this family called the Von Erichs, and all but one of the Von Erich children have died for various reasons. And the last son, the last child of the Von Erichs, lives in Kauai, Hawaii. And he said at the beginning of his episode, the Pacific Ocean has no memory. And so, I don't know, that just sounded very profound to me. And I don't know about the Pacific, but here in the Atlantic, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I just love the ocean. I find it very therapeutic, and I love swimming in the ocean. This had a pretty strong current, so you couldn't be out in it too long, or you run into trouble. But it was still really fun, and I hope to get back to the ocean again soon. I mean, I'd love to go to Hawaii again. I loved going to Florida. This was in 2013. I went to Florida, to Tampa area, and the beaches there were gorgeous. So yeah, and this place also had an incredible pool. It was one of the nicest pools I've ever seen. It was so big and really, really nice. So it was just a great trip. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you need to come to Orlando sometime. We can go to Disney World together.
I really want to. That's definitely something I've been thinking about, and I mean, I've been wanting to go to Disney World for a long time, and if we were able to meet up, that would be even better. And I think that would be very fun because I've only been to Disney World once, and that was when I was 12. That's the only time.
Because Disney pretty much owns like a chunk of Florida, pretty much like Bonavista. Vista. Like there's literally, it's like you're entering Disney Town. And like, oh, I'm in Disney Town now, and they have golf courses and hotels and the parks, obviously, water parks. Like it's just a whole like they've carved out an entire section of like Central Florida all to themselves. It's crazy to think about. And actually, Rachel, to bounce off of what you were saying about, if podcast friendships are real because, you're on like maybe different places, I can say definitively that you're like one of my best friends, and we've never even been in the same room as each other. We've always communicated through Twitter DMs or through these. Yeah, but you're one of my best friends. So
I really appreciate that, and I agree. I would say the same thing. I think it's something that I really look forward to every week, and doing our little like. I don't really care. I mean, I'd like it to get more listens, but I would do it if it was just us chatting. So it's a lot of fun.
You do need to come to Orlando sometime, and we'll make a week out of it.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing some kind of Disney trip maybe after Christmas. Thinking of maybe doing something. I don't know. I have to think about it. But because I don't know how I'm going to get there before then. But because everything's so crazy in my life during the holidays. But I was thinking that might be a kind of a fun reward for a successful season. Holiday season.
Not to mention the Hallmark Network going, send in the 5 million Christmas movies. She's watched them all. What do you mean, Johnson?
No, it's true. So they had a Christmas in July movie, a new movie called Crashing Through the Snow, which was actually really fun. And we did a live recap that just posted today over on Hallmark.
Crashing Through the Snow.
Crashing Through the Snow.
That sounds like a metal album.
Yeah.
Crashing Through the Snow.
I can see that. Yeah. And but during the ads, they had these over the top promos that were make me laugh so hard. And it was that Rhapsody in Blue, the like that really epic music, and then they're scrolling up on the Christmas tree ornaments, big tree, and then it says it's going to be bigger than ever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die.
I should give everyone a forewarning. If I have to host the episodes by myself, I should let you know that Rachel's brain broke from watching all these Christmas movies.
I think it's pretty clear that they're going to have more than 40 movies this year. I think they're making it. Otherwise, I don't know what they're talking about with all this bigger than ever. But I was like, they're taunting me. They're trying to break me, but I can't be broken.
Either get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll have to send you a link to those promos. They are so over the top. But today we're actually talking about Netflix, and we can answer any questions. So if you're in the chat room and you want to send us a question, please do. It doesn't have to necessarily be on Netflix. It can be about whatever you want. But we also thought we'd head over to HBO Max for just a few minutes, and we're going to talk a little bit about our response to Space Jam: A New Legacy. I posted my review on my website. I gave it a mild recommendation, a 6 out of 10. I thought that it was funny enough. Like, I thought that Don Cheadle was pretty funny, and I thought it had some funny sequences, like when they were going all around the different collecting the different Looney Tunes from the different movies. I thought that whole sequence was funny. I thought that some of the animation was good. I liked just being with the Looney Tunes because I like the Looney Tunes. It's not great. I didn't love it, but I thought it was okay. I don't know. What did you think?
Well, it was fine.
Yeah,
it was just fine. Part of the reason why I was hoping that we could talk about this is just looking at the reviews of this on Letterboxd is just so funny because some of the reviews are so over the top. There was one who pronounced this as the death of cinema or something like that, and I'm just sitting there whose brain works this way? Whose mind operates in a fashion like this? This is the third or fourth movie in my lifetime where people have said that X has killed cinema. It's they're all turning into Nietzsche. Cinema is dead, and Space Jam killed it.
Yeah, and, I mean, it's hard for me to understand that attitude when we've literally just had a talking baby movie sequel in theaters. I mean, is Space Jam 2 really that much of an abomination? I mean,
I don't know how many of you people know this, but the first Space Jam was essentially based on a Nike commercial that Michael Jordan did with Bugs Bunny, 2 of them. And they looked at that and said, you know what? Let's make a movie off of that. And I actually rewatched it in preparation for Space Jam 2. It hasn't aged tremendously well. It's the most 90s movie that I've ever watched. All it needed was a Hulk Hogan dropping the leg on Randy Savage clip, and it would be more 90s than that. But it was just fine. And I felt like Space Jam 2, they tried to tell more of a story, which is what I appreciated. Love the animation. Whoever designed the Looney Tunes, both in 3D animation and 2D animation, deserves a raise because it was great. Don Cheadle, God bless his soul, he was acting his butt off in this movie. He was taking his performance to the nines, and it was greatly appreciated. As far as flaws go, I've seen a lot of complaints that this is essentially HBO Max the movie, and there are some of the references that I thought were pretty clever. But then there are ones that are just oh, come on, you're just advertising at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's some, I had a question of who is this movie made for? Because there's a lot of references to things that certainly kids won't know about, or
none is,
and a lot of R-rated material with things like It, The Matrix, the Mad Max Fury Road, Game of Thrones. Those are all things that Clockwork Orange, those are all things that the kids are not going to know. They're not going to get the jokes. They're not going to understand.
Yeah, my big question was, Agent Smith in The Matrix is supposed to be a computer, right? So how does he enjoy basketball? Does The Matrix program him to enjoy basketball? That just, it confused me so much. And Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze is in this crowd. The Flintstones are in this crowd. The Herculoids, which is a massive dive. I did not think that they would go that deep into their canon to include the Herculoids in there, but I was glad they did. And Frankenstein Jr. was in there. And
well, I mean, stuff like that, that Flintstones is that makes sense because that's an animated property. And it's something kids will probably know about or at least heard of. Whereas, I mean, my niece had no idea what the Game of Thrones references were about, or she understood the Harry Potter one. That made sense. It was like they were making half the movie for people that grew up on the original Space Jam and half of the movie for kids, and so it made it weird. But I still laughed just enough. I wouldn't give it a strong recommendation, but it was okay, I thought.
Yeah, I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Imagine Alex DeLarge in a basketball game.
I mean, I would certainly rather watch this than Boss Baby 2, but because I just flat out laughed more in this than Boss Baby 2.
My droogs and I, we enjoy a fair game of round ball.
Yeah. Like I said, my favorite sequence was when they were going around to the different movies, and I liked the way the animation changed in each one. But that was pretty clever. Like when they were in DC World, and how it all felt like a comic book. But I also feel like there's a particular kind of slapstick humor that I appreciate that seems like other people get really irritated about. Like I don't know, I felt like that way about Tom and Jerry. I felt that way about this. That I don't know. I like a certain over the top slapstick nature to comedy that I feel like other people just really dislike.
Yeah, and it just, like I said, people are being way harsh on this, and there was a certain review that I was reading that was just dumbfounded that they made the joke of putting Yosemite Sam in Casablanca is like Sam, and like I thought it was funny. Like imagine Yosemite Sam in Casablanca.
Yeah, I mean, our kids, at least that's not like R-rated. Like that was another thing that it's weird. I don't know why they keep picking R-rated films for these kind of crossovers, because like it's the same with Ready Player One, that there's this whole section in The Shining, and it's like, that's rated R. Why would you choose that? Like I enjoyed it, but it's confusing. And that's not in the book. That whole sequence in The Shining is not in the book. So I don't know. It's weird.
Steven Spielberg and Stanley Kubrick were legit friends in real life, so maybe that was a nice tip of the cap to him. But I do see your point.
Yeah, it's just weird. But I don't know what people were expecting with a Space Jam movie. I feel like it was basically what I expected. So maybe that helped as well. I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty basic concept, and I don't know, what else are you gonna do? I don't know. It's weird. But Don Cheadle was pretty good. I thought he was funny.
He knew exactly the movie that he was in, and I love him for it.
Yes. Emmy nominated Don Cheadle for 30 seconds, literally 30 seconds in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He literally comes in and gives Sam he gives him the shield, I think, or takes the shield. I can't remember. But yeah, He's in the first episode for literally 30 seconds. And he got nominated for Best Guest Appearance in Emmys. And even on his tweet on his Twitter, he was like, I have no idea what's going on.
And the Emmys have really set their standards low.
Yeah. But it was very exciting this year for the Emmys, because I have actually seen like maybe 60% of the shows nominated, which usually I've seen none of the shows nominated. But I've seen WandaVision, I've seen Ted Lasso, which were the two big nominees. I've seen Bridgerton, got a bunch. I've seen Hacks, got a bunch. And so this is a landmark year for me in the Emmys.
I will say this though, Kevin Feige had a great day today, or whenever the Emmys were announced.
Yeah, no question.
As far as Don Cheadle getting an Emmy nom for 30 seconds, all I have to say to that is the Emmys have gone to a new level. That level is called the basement.
Yeah, I mean, they just really like Don Cheadle, which, I mean, he's talented, so okay.
Yeah, he's a good actor, don't get me wrong, but it just, I don't know, that's just
it's ridiculous. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, well, let's start talking about Netflix. So this is our 9th Netflix episode, and I felt like we had done way more than that. Like, I was really surprised when I realized that we haven't done an official Netflix recap since April. Like, how, I don't know, just crazy. It doesn't seem that long.
Well, the streaming game right now is so diverse, for lack of a better word, with so many competitors throwing their hat in the streaming ring.
Yeah.
It feels like Netflix is, I think, still at the top, but it's like, to use Gary Vaynerchuk terms, it's gone from underrated to properly rated. and several other streaming services have come along, and they're either underrated or massively underrated.
Yeah.
They have gone more niche or have a more tailored experience, where Netflix is a bit of a coin toss to see what you get. Nowadays, you have HBO Max, which is about 99.9% of Warner Brothers' catalog. I could be overinflating that, but there you go. There's Canopy, which is mostly artsy and indie stuff and Oscar stuff. Hoopla, kind of along the same lines.
Yeah.
Disney Plus, we all know what that is. So there are more services out there than ever that are providing similar, if not better, circumstances. There's a thing for everybody nowadays, pretty much.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And we've done 11 episodes of Disney Plus, so just barely more than Netflix. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And why don't you give your first recommendation?
All right, so for my 5, I didn't plan on this, but my 5 are all TV shows. I think there's a couple mini series in there. There's actually 2, but all of them are TV. I didn't plan it that way. I just found 2, and I'm like, if I can find 3 more TV shows, then I got myself a theme, and I found 3. So there's my theme. So my first choice is, and this is kind of walking the tightrope of a hidden gem, depending on who is watching this, but it's Better Call Saul. This is the spinoff to Breaking Bad, which I think is one of the greatest TV shows ever made. And when it went off the air, it was the right thing to do, but it was also like really sad because that show was so epic that you wanted it to go on forever, but rather bow out gracefully than keep going and going and going until people are tired of it. Well, Better Call Saul is the prequel, I want to say, to that. And when I heard they were making a prequel, I was planning for the worst, and especially considering that the show revolves around the lawyer, Saul Goodman. And it was just, when I heard that, I said to myself, Jesse Pinkman is right there. You can make an entire show about him. But no, they make it about the lawyer. And after 1 episode, I was proven wrong. And now going into season 5, this is my favorite show on television right now. Like I said, this is about Saul Goodman, who is the lawyer character in Breaking Bad. And before he would have a strip mall office, before he'd have the Cadillac, and before he was basically the lawyer that is like the ambulance chasers that we see today, kind of like the wrong kind of lawyer. He was actually a good lawyer and trying to do, well, some good in the world. And he had a different name, Jimmy McGill. And basically, throughout the entire show, he starts off in one place, in a small office, in the back of a nail salon, working pro bono, smaller cases. When he wasn't doing that, he was helping his brother Charles, who has, I can't think of the name, but he's basically allergic to electricity. He can't leave his house because the electrical currents mess with his skin and all that. It has a name, but I always call it he's allergic to electricity. And this show basically chronicles the transformation, the death of Jimmy McGill and the birth of Saul Goodman. I could talk about this show for days, and I actually have a video on my channel talking about why this show is so awesome. But even if you've never seen Breaking Bad, I still highly recommend it, because while it does help to know certain intricacies about certain characters, seeing Breaking Bad is not really a requirement. There are some who are like, is it a requirement? Is it not? I don't think it is. I think it's a good gateway drug, for lack of a better term, into the show. I think it's fantastic.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you have to have watched the show in order to...
Like I said, it does help. In season 3, Gus Fring comes into the show, and he's one of the bigger villains in Breaking Bad. However, it's not like you have to have seen Breaking Bad to understand his motives. You get the idea of where the seeds are planted for what eventually happens in Breaking Bad. So in a weird roundabout way, you're seeing the ground floor being built, knowing that the building is going to get made, if that makes any sense.
That's good, because a lot of problems with prequels is they answer questions that you didn't want answered, like, I don't know, like Crimes of Grindelwald, about Dumbledore having secret brother. I mean, it's just so stupid, and so it's a problem. And then like midichlorians and the Star Wars prequels, things like that. That we didn't need to know that. It didn't. No, it just answered. That's the tricky thing with prequels. But it sounds like this is more of a spin-off than a prequel.
It is. It's like a prequel off, or a spinquel, if you will.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't have to have seen Breaking Bad. It helps in certain situations, but it's not required, I don't think.
Cool. All right. I've heard really good things about that. The movie that I picked is very different than Better Call Saul. It is called The Mirror Has Two Faces. This is from 1996. This is by director Barbra Streisand, starring Barbra Streisand, and this is a very Streisand-y movie. She loves things that are kind of psychoanalytical and where you're I don't know, that are sort of romantic, but also kind of about therapy and stuff like that. And this is definitely the case. This is about her. She's this sort of mousy professor of communication, I think. I forget what she's a professor of, but anyway. And she starts this relationship with Jeff Bridges, and they agree to get married, but have a completely platonic relationship. That sex just gets in the way, it just causes problems, and so they're just going to like have companionship, and that's going to be enough. Well, of course, it's not enough, and problems develop. And this is a very cheesy movie, but I still enjoy it. Lauren Bacall is great as her mother. It has Pierce Brosnan in it, George Segal, he's always great, Mimi Rogers, of course, Jeff Bridges and Barbra Streisand, they are great. And this is just a cheesy, kind of fun little movie.
The Mirror Has Two Faces. That sounds like a riddle of some kind.
Yeah. Like I said, she's very into like psychoanalytical Freudian kind of romantic drivel. And I get a certain degree of enjoyment out of that. So it's if you watch the trailer and you're like, that looks horrible, then you're not going to like this movie. But I enjoy it for what it is. So what is your next pick?
So my next choice is a Netflix exclusive show that ran for 3 seasons, and it is called Bloodline. This stars a lot of people, including Kyle Chandler, Ben Mendelsohn, Linda Cardellini, Sissy Spacek, and Norbert Leo Butz, I think.
I love him. He's a Broadway guy. And when he won the Tony Award, I forget for which show it was that he won the Tony Award. He's like, if somebody named Norbert Leo Butz can win a Tony Award, then anybody can.
He must have got picked on a lot in school. Yeah. Hey, here comes Butz. But I mean, he did end up in shows like Bloodline and won a Tony. So don't lose all hope, kids.
That's right. He's awesome.
Faith moves mountains and all that.
He's a two-time Tony winner. He's won 2. So
good old Norbert 2 times. So
anyway, go ahead.
So Bloodline is the story of a family who runs a hotel in the Florida Keys, and they all have their lives in order. They love each other, but they show it very poorly. And then during the matriarch and patriarch's wedding anniversary, the black sheep of the family named Danny, played by Ben Mendelsohn, returns for the first time in a very long time. And the movie the TV show is very much a slow burn. Over the next 3 seasons, it's like you got a wool sweater and you see this one line and you start tugging at it and tugging at it and tugging at it. And you find that all these people are pretty much just the worst. Like, pretty much the worst. I dare not spoil this show because basically it starts out at one spot and then by the end you're on Mars. Like, a lot of things happen in this show, but the acting is absolutely out of this world good. Kyle Chandler, we all know who he is. Friday Night Lights, Godzilla movies. I could go on, but he's great. Ben Mendelsohn, he's kind of an anti-hero, but he primarily plays villains. Ready Player One, Rogue One. I could go on, but he's great. Linda Cardellini is forever underrated. She's very underutilized. I wish they gave her more stuff because she's actually very good at what she does. Sissy Spacek, we all know who she is. Carrie, other movies like that, she's really good. Surprisingly, one of my favorite characters is Norbert Leo Butz. He is the outcast, or not the outcast. That's Ben Mendelsohn's character, but he's the screw up of the family. And I immediately was drawn to him. I wanted him to do better and try and get back together with his wife and try and get his life back together. And again, no spoilers, but basically, like I said, it starts out like ground level and then it gets lower and lower and lower and lower. So if you like shows where you just see people who you would never want to meet in real life but are fascinating nonetheless, then Bloodline is certainly the show for you.
That sounds good. I mean, I love that cast. I love Kyle Chandler. I think he is so great. I'm just waiting for him to win his Oscar one of these days.
It's inevitable.
He's so good.
I hope he wins one day because he's always the best part of any movie that he is in. Like, he is super good at his job.
Agreed. Very good. All right. So my next pick is a hard left, as you like to say, and it is Fools Rush In. And this is a cute little romantic comedy. This stars Selma Hayek and Matthew Perry. And this was right at the peak. This was in 97. So this was, I think, right when Friends was gearing up and starting to become a big thing.
I've actually seen this.
All right.
This came out in 97, and I watched about 95% of the movies that came out in 97 because of 1 year, because that's the year I was born, and I wanted to watch all the movies that came out that year. And I have no idea. I've never seen Friends. I've heard like it's really good, and I'll probably watch it one day. But I knew what Fools Rush In was because of Matthew Perry.
Right.
So there you go.
Well, yeah. So they have a one-night stand. She gets pregnant, and they decide to get married. And it's basically about their kind of rushed-in marriage, and it's really cute and funny. And there are some things that are over the top, a few things that haven't aged super well, but overall, it's just a sweet romantic comedy. I think they have nice chemistry between the two of them, and she does a good job playing kind of the fiery Latina lead. And so if you like cute little rom-coms, then you'll enjoy this. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and very nice use of Elvis's music too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The music in general is fun throughout the whole movie. So what is your next pick?
So my next choice is a miniseries, and this is from the Duplass brothers, who made Making a Murderer, I believe. But this show, and kind of tying into the theme of Bloodline of people you would never want to meet, only this time, these were people that actually existed. The show is called Evil Genius, and it essentially tells the story of, in the early 2000s, there was a bank robbery. No money was, or actually, no. In the early 2000s, there was a bank robbery. A lone guy walked in with a necklace wrapped around. It was like a neck bomb. And he walked out he was like, please give me the money. I'm being forced to do this. And so he walks out, and then he like takes the money, puts it on the ground, sits down, and he explodes. Like the guy explodes. It's not a pretty sight. And so it's just, you go down the rabbit hole over these 3 to 4 episodes about just the worst people you could ever hope to meet. They are so sure of themselves and so egotistical that they thought that they could pull this off. And in reality, they just bungled it so horribly. This was created by the Duplass brothers, and let's just say that if you enjoyed Making a Murderer, then you will enjoy this. I sincerely hope that the Duplass brothers make more miniseries like this, because they're really good at it.
Yeah, they also did, well, their production company did The Lady in the Dale, which I had talked about on HBO Max episode, that I really enjoyed, documentary this year. So they're really good at those kinds of either docuseries or miniseries. So yeah, that sounds interesting. All right. Well, my next choice is a very silly movie. It's called A Little Chaos. And this is a very cheesy movie, but I enjoyed it. It's that's the theme of my picks this week, I guess. It is stars. It's got a great cast. It's got Matthias Schoenaerts and Kate Winslet and Alan Rickman, and he actually directed this movie. Alan Rickman did, and it's set in the era of King Louis XIV of France, and he's this Matthias Schoenaerts is hired to basically landscape this garden for Louis XIV, and he's given like full reign, and so he hires Kate Winslet to come in and also help with the garden. And there's a very steamy romance between the two of them that's very cheesy but fun to me, at least. And if you like things that are a little on the soapy side and that are just, I don't know, that are just kind of fun, then you'll enjoy it. And if you like Bridgerton, I bet people will like this. And Stanley Tucci is over the top and good in it. So I guess this is the kind of thing that, like, in the little description, it says that Le Notre hires Sabine to design and construct the outdoor ballroom and is soon captivated by her beauty. Sabine is equally enthralled by Le Notre, for she is struggling to deal with her past. Through the trials of building the garden, the two starving artists come together. So there you go. If that sounds fun to you, which it does to me, then you'll enjoy it. If that sounds like, oh, that sounds terrible, then you won't enjoy it. So don't watch it.
You know, I consistently, like, when I was looking this up just now, I find it baffling that Hans Gruber directed a period piece romance. Like,
Yeah.
It really does show that Alan Rickman was just one of a kind and taken from
That's
us
true.
far too soon.
I mean, he was in Sense and Sensibility in as Colonel Brandon. So he has some other films in period pieces, but this is way more frothy than Sense and Sensibility. It's more of a, I don't know, like that has, this is just very, it's like a romance novel, which is fun, I think.
Yeah, Rickman could go from Shakespeare to Gruber in like the drop of a hat. He could go from he will not be joining us for the rest of his life to be or not to be. That is the question.
Yeah. To be enthralled by your beauty. That's great. So there you go. That's my next choice. What you have next?
So my next choice, and again, walking the tightrope here, but I decided to include it anyway because I think this group is known more for their movies than their TV show, but so I want to recommend it anyway. It's Monty Python's Flying Circus. If you've seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which is one of the all-time greats, or Life of Brian, which is equally as good, then you're going to love Monty Python's Flying Circus. Honestly, the intro to each one of their shows is just excellent. It's just some dude running across a field at high speed like for several seconds until he runs to face the camera and he says, "It's," and then it goes da 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 da, and then the narrator goes, "Monty Python's Flying Circus." Just, I never get tired of that intro. It's so awesome every time. And like I said, this is very much a Monty Python show. All the cast is here: John Cleese, Terry Gilliam, and Terry Gibbs. Right, Terry Gibbs. There's another Terry in there, but the cast is all here, and they're all just excellent. When people say that X will not get made today because of our modern sensibilities, I tend to be like, oh, come on, it probably would just be toned down. But you can never make a show like Monty Python today because people will be like, how dare they? And so because of that, I kind of love it even more. It's one of the better sketch comedy shows that has ever been made. I could talk about the show for days and days. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Always look on the bright side of life. This show is awesome. It really is.
Yeah, it's so good. I love Monty Python so much.
The ambassador of silly walks.
Yeah, it's the Gumbies. That's so good. I don't know. It's this one. I have more memories of the Hollywood Bowl one than this one, but it's just funny. You just watch it and you just laugh. I love Monty Python. I mean, obviously, Holy Grail is the Holy Grail. It is the best of the lot, as far as I'm concerned.
Holy Grail is the best thing that trio, or not trio, but that group will ever make. Like, they can never top that, even if they tried. It was just the culmination of everything that they were doing. The sun, the moon, the planets, and all the stars were in perfect alignment to make that movie into one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it's the best comedy ever made, if you ask me. So, and I love in the Hollywood Bowl with the Four Yorkshiremen. That's one of my favorites. You are lucky to have a lake. Wake up every morning, drain the lake, and then there's like luxury. This is the best. Anyway, yeah. So, all right, very good choice. Well, my next choice is...
On second thought, let us not go to Camelot. 'Tis a silly place.
Yeah. So my next choice is an anime, and it was actually nominated for Best Animated Film, which is very rare that a non-Studio Ghibli anime gets nominated, so maybe it's not a hidden gem, but I still think a lot of people probably haven't seen it. It's called Mirai. And this is from 2018, and it's by director Mamoru Hosoda. And it's a very sweet movie. It's kind of sort of a take on Christmas Carol a little bit. Like, not exactly, but it's kind of a similar idea where this little kid is kind of being a brat. He's not being very good. And he runs into he runs into his younger sister from the future. So she's grown up. She's a young girl. And then he meets a bunch of other people from his family that I forget who if it's his, I think it's his grandfather who was a soldier, and he meets a bunch of different people that basically teach him to not be a brat, to be good. And it's just very sweet, beautifully animated, great music. So if you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
I was actually working on my video for my first reaction to Howl's Moving Castle, and I learned that Mamoru Hosoda was actually supposed to direct that, and even had a script ready, but he clashed with the studio heads, and so he was like, "Forget this, I'm out of here." And so he ended up leaving, and he turned out to be pretty successful. So let's not cry too hard for him, but just strange to think what Mamoru Hosoda would have done with Howl's Moving Castle if think about what that movie would be like if anyone but Hayao Miyazaki was directing it.
It's true. And he does have a great filmography with things like Summer Wars, which I love. He has Wolf Children, which made my top 50 animated films. And I love Wolf Children so much. The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. So he has really strong films. And Mirai is just a very sweet entry. It's like a little allegory, I guess, and you might say. So, what is your next pick?
So my final pick is yet another mini-series, and I believe it was in one of the Hoopla episodes I recommended World War II in HD. Well, this time I am recommending, I guess, a cousin, if you will. It's called World War II in color, and this is exactly what it says: World War II in color. But actually, let me look this up when it was released, because when it was released, it would be important. Nope, that's World War III.
How do they have that in color?
That hasn't even happened yet.
It looks like it was 2008, from what I can see. 13-episode British television docuseries recounting the major events of World War II, narrated by Robert Powell.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Whew, wow, But yeah, this show is great. I'm a sucker for World War II documentaries, World War II movies as well. Like, even the ones are still a joy to watch for me. Like, there was this movie, The Monuments Men, that came out in 2014. People completely disregarded it, and I loved it. I thought it was really cool, but side road. World War II in color is, well, World War II in color. And they make a big deal out of all of the footage that they found that has been colorized for the very first time. And I think shows like this are very important because World War II was just such a crap time in our history. It was the rise of Nazi Germany, the Holocaust, Japan and Italy and the fascist movement, and how we were able to beat them back and eventually win the day. Like, it wasn't easy. And I think that nowadays people tend to either minimize it or forget it. And I think that shows like this are very important because it allows you to look in to see what the world stage was like back then, and how things could have gone really terribly for a lot of reasons. And I could talk about shows like these for days because there's no shortage of World War II stories to tell. And no matter how many stories they do tell out of it, I don't get tired of it.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoy learning about World War II, especially the Pacific side of it, because I just learned way less of that in high school and growing up. I seem to learn more about the European front. So it's really nice to get a chance to learn about the Pacific front as well. And it's just a very interesting time, and especially because my grandfather, who I loved so much, served in Europe. So I do like learning about that as well. But yeah, it's really good. I enjoyed that while I was enriched by watching the other one that you had recommended when we did our catch up.
World War II in HD.
Yeah. So maybe I'll have to watch this one of these when we do another catch up.
Narrated by the great Gary Sinise.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of good in this world.
Yeah. Very good. Well, my last pick is a movie that I saw at Sundance this year. It's called Amy Tan Unintended Memoir. And this is a pretty basic documentary as far as like style and, the kind of thing. But it's such an interesting life that it's really worth watching about the author Amy Tan, who of course wrote the Joy Luck Club. which was such an important, iconic book. And she talks about her life and her experiences writing, and particularly her mother. Like, her experiences with her mother are kind of crazy. Like, her mom had severe mental health problems. And so that was very interesting to learn about. And also because if you've read the Joy Luck Club, it's all about the relationship between mothers and daughters. And so to learn about her mother and what a toxic relationship that was for a long time was very interesting to me. And I don't know, I like watching these kind of documentaries about interesting people and their lives. And so I think this is worth your time. So, yeah. So I would recommend checking it out. There's been a lot of these kind of documentaries this last couple of years. There's one at South by Southwest about Wolfgang Puck. There's one about Anthony Bourdain at the Tribeca. There's just a bunch. But this was a good one. I enjoyed it. Rita Moreno.
I'll be seeing the Anthony Bourdain one tomorrow, actually.
No, it was good.
I found a theater close enough to me to where I can actually see it.
It was good. I liked it a lot. Like I said, I saw it at Tribeca. So very good. Well, we did it. We gave our recommendations. So if you're listening, you have to let us know what you've been watching on Netflix. And I've also been watching Virgin River season 3. I'm not finished yet, but as soon as I do, I will post my review. I've reviewed the other 2 previous seasons. I've done a review on my channel, so I will work on that. Yeah, so I'll check that out. But yeah, this has been fun. And let us know your thoughts. And Ryan, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. Then there's, of course, my YouTube channel, which is just called RyanCam. I did reach 160 subscribers, so thank you to you all for that. Before we went on the air today, I dropped my review for Escape Room Tournament of Champions, and spoiler alert, I actually liked it a lot better than I thought. I'll be dropping a Space Jam review also, and then, like I said, tomorrow I'll be seeing Roadrunner, a movie about Anthony Bourdain. So it's going to be a busy weekend on the channel. And then I'll be dropping a video Sunday about Chronicle from 2012, a movie that I really love that has gone under the radar. And so I hope to talk about it. And then the Twilight Zone vlogs have been going strong, and they've been received very well. So thank you to you all for that. Let me check my board here to see what episodes are coming up next. And it appears that next I'll be talking about Mr. Beavis, and a couple more. I'm blanking on the titles at the minute, but that'll be released throughout the week. So if you have not checked me out, please do. And Rachel's going to be coming on because there's going to be a Christmas episode of The Twilight Zone coming up very soon. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, and make sure that you are following us at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. I just posted, like I said, my review of Space Jam, also the great Apple Plus series, Schmigadoon. Schmigadoon, it was so good. I loved it so much. It was great. So check that out. Schmigadoon, how can you not watch that show? I mean, come on. But lots of fun stuff going on. And we had our interview with Amy Acker over at Hallmarkies Podcast, and that was pretty exciting. And she was awesome. And yeah, we have lots of good stuff going over there. So make sure you're following over at Hallmarkies Podcast. And thanks so much. And we'll talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.